Hello and welcome back to Rogue Trader. This is potentially the end of Act 1. However, we have a lot of leveling up to do today because we have to choose our secondary class, or I think it's our second archetype. So, let's start with ourselves, shall we? So, we've mastered this archetype, so I'm assuming that means we can no longer take anything that this archetype was offering, which is kind of interesting. So any of those abilities that we thought just weren't quite good enough, they are just gone forever for us. Unless there's a way of, unless you can take them in these, I don't know. But let's have a look and see what we got. So, Assassins. Assassins are masters at identifying the slightest vulnerability of priority targets and dispatching them by any means necessary. Priority target appears to be a keyword. The target that enemies will attack first if able. Okay, interesting. I wonder if that's real or whether they just use the same word. Core focus, high damage, dodge and dodge reduction, threat elimination, hit and run. That doesn't sound like our path forward. That doesn't sound like that's what we do, but let's have a look. So what are its features? Keystone feature is seek the opening. Whenever the assassin hits an opening, excluding overpenetration, so you have to aim at the target and shoot them. You can't just shoot at a target and have it hit the one behind. They deal an additional 10% of the target's max wounds damage. After an attack, the opening is moved to the opposite side of the enemy. Oh. Okay, so this is based on what way you're facing the enemy. Okay, openings of each enemy that were not hit by the assassin during the assassin's turn are moved to a random side of the enemy at the start of the assassin's next turn. Oh my, that sounds like a lot. I wonder how that's displayed on screen as well. Yeah, that sounds like that's probably not for this character. Let's see. The assassin makes an attack with a current weapon against an enemy. This attack cannot miss and deals 50% more damage. It also deals additional damage equal to 25% of the target's missing wounds. So it's kind of an execute. Your dodge reduction, armor penetration, and power reduction are doubled for this attack. What do you mean that the assassin's dodge is doubled for the attack? That doesn't make a lot of sense, because dodge is not an attack stat, right? Like when you're attacking someone, your dodge is not usually used. Like dodge reduction, yeah. Interesting. I wonder if there's more to that or whether it's just odd. So these are the characteristics. It's based off agility, ballistic skill, intelligence, perception, and weapon skill. Now, I know obviously we already know this isn't for us. I'm just reading through it because, well, we're probably going to run into it again for one of the other characters. I think for secondary archetype, I don't know how we see what is showed when we were in character creation originally, but each of the 4 archetypes at the start could lead into the second level of archetypes, but not every first archetype could lead into every second, but you could get to a second archetype from multiple different angles. So you could be like, I'm an operative and now I'm an assassin, but you could also be like, I started as a warrior, now I'm an assassin, right? So it means that coming into it from a different angle, you might be like, oh, this makes much more sense. Like the assassin stuff, I'm thinking if this was Abelard, for instance, it moving to the other side of... Oh, there you go. It says at the top, warrior or operative. So it was warrior. Like this makes a lot more sense for someone like Abelard, right? You hit them on one side, you can then walk round to the other side without taking an attack of opportunity, because you don't take attacks of opportunity if you stay within attack range, and then you can hit the other side. So in theory, if you could do 2 attacks a turn, you're ending up doing 20% of a target's max wounds when you hit that opening. Or, sorry, because each time you hit an opening, you do 10% of the target's max wounds damage. You're doing that on... I need to try re-explain this. If you get 2 attacks in a turn, and you can move, you can hit once, go around to the other side and hit the other side. You hit 2 openings, does 20% max wounds damage, which is 20% of someone's HP bar, not including the damage that you would already do. So you can definitely see how that would be more useful for that type of character. But anyway, none of this is for us. I mean, I like that its logic is a skill, but like, you know, that's fine. Bounty Hunter. Now, this I think is the one that we were looking at before we played 16 or 15 levels of this character. Bounty Hunters are methodical killers who leave trails of dead bodies in their wake. A bounty hunter chooses their next target before the previous one is even realized it's dead. Core focus: critical hit, defense reduction, killing priority target, repositioning. It says priority target again. Maybe it really does mean that, but I think it just means like killing a single enemy. Hunt down the prey. The bounty hunter may mark any enemy in combat as prey. When the bounty hunter kills a target marked as prey, they can gain a stackable bonus until the end of combat. The bonus depends on the enemy difficulty tier, the Roman numeral on the enemy's icon. If it's between 1 and 2, you gain 25% of the bounty hunter's maximum wounds as temporary wounds. If it's 3 to 4, you get 5 times the prey's difficulty tier percent critical damage, and 2 times the prey's difficulty tier percentage critical hit until the end of combat. If it's 5 to 7, then you get both. Okay. And it has 3 charges at the start of combat. Okay, cool. Wild Hunt. Bounty Hunter simultaneously makes several attacks. The number of attacks is equal to the number of prey in combat. These attacks are equally divided among all prey in the Bounty Hunter's line of sight. The attacks always hit and always score critical hits. Okay. And then these are what skills it's based on. That's agility perception. So again, it doesn't seem like that's really where our character is doing well, although it does have intelligence in there. I don't know. Maybe this isn't us anymore. Maybe we are a grand strategist. Masters of battlefield positioning for themselves and their allies. The grand strategist is able to increase the battle effectiveness of their party by designating and strengthening important parts of the battlefield. Core focus: battlefield control, ally buffs, unique utility, enemy debuffs. So our keystone feature is combat tactics. The Grand Strategist analyzes the battlefield and can create specific areas providing bonuses to all allies including the Grand Strategist: frontline, backline and rear. In the first turn, all 3 areas can be created. In the following turn, only one of them can be created. All areas can be moved with the corresponding abilities and cannot overlap. If there are 2 or more Grand Strategists in the party, the combat tactics areas are common for all Grand Strategists, and the highest intelligence bonus and fellowship bonus of all Grand Strategists is used. There can be more than one frontline, backline, there cannot be more than one frontline, backline or rear on the battlefield. Regardless of the abilities used, the Grand Strategist always acts first in combat. There's so much in there that it tells you so little. I'm like, okay, so you can create different lines in combat, but it doesn't actually tell us what those lines do yet. Take and hold. The Grand Strategist chooses one combat tactics area. Every ally inside that area gains an additional turn with 1 AP and 2 MP at the start of the Grand Strategist's next turn. So not the turn that you use it, the turn afterwards. For every enemy that was killed in the selected combat tactics area, the additional AP is increased by +1 up to a maximum of 3, and additional MP is increased by +2 up to a maximum of 6. Okay. Interesting. So that's Fellowship, which isn't really us, or Willpower. Fellowship and Willpower are god-awful for us. Intelligence, Perception are pretty good for us currently. Weapon skill, Ballistic skill. Skills are Persuasion, which is god-awful. Commerce, which is god-awful. Demolition, god-awful. Logic, like Logic. Tech use, Pascal is going to be better. Lore Imperium and Xenos. Okay, those are our best lore stats. Awareness. Okay. And then Medicae, which is, yeah, so-so. Interesting. Well, I'm kind of still between these two. I guess we have to start actually deciding what type of character we want to be at this point, right? Because up until this point, we've just used the sniper rifle the game gave us in the second room. And we went, yeah, that'll do. That'll be our personality forever. So if we go this one, there is a lot of like marking people in combat and then sniping them, effectively, or I guess you could hit them with a melee weapon or whatever, and then you get these bonuses. Okay. It's agility, perception, ballistics, intelligence, weapon skill. Lore Imperium, Lore Xenos. Athletics is going to be awful for us because we're not strength-based. Demolition is also awful. Okay, so the skills are pretty much as bad as on the other side. So, do we want to be the person controlling the battlefield from the back, or do we want to be the person getting the kills? I think we're probably Grand Strategist, right? I mean, we're not Assassin because that just does not... Like, the core focuses do not make sense to me for this character. We could be this one, potentially, right? This one could be us. And actually, you know, one thing that might make this better for us is that our damage does scale thanks to Surefire Plan. Like, we can get a lot of extra damage, and if we can critical hit that damage, potentially there's a lot we can do there. Grand Strategist, though, does allow us to, yeah, this allows us to put a lot of buffs down. Let me think about what other people are going to go, right? So we'll just stick with just the operatives for now. Adira is not our Grand Strategist, right? Because her fellowship is god-awful and her intelligence is god-awful, and those are the two skills that she really needs, right? So she's not going to be that. She's not going to be our assassin. So Adira has to be a bounty hunter based upon what I've got here, right? So I don't think assassin is really for her. Assassin is willpower. Yeah, I don't think this is for her. So I think it has to be bounty hunter on that one. So she's probably a bounty hunter. Our other operative is Pascal. Now, Pascal could be an assassin, although dodge is not necessarily the way we would build him. But, like, if we ignore this, like, if we just put, like, our mouse over it so we can't really see it, the rest of the stuff is, like, all him, right? Medicae, tech use, logic, the lores, the awareness, all of this goes into... Actually, awareness doesn't, but, like, all of these are int stats. He does go into melee. Yeah, I think this is fine. I think if we ignore the word dodge, the rest of it is fine. I think bounty hunter probably isn't him. Well, I mean, it could be, but I don't think it is. And then grand strategist, it could be him. Right, this could also be where we take him. We would basically be ignoring the fact that his fellowship is, like, terrible. But this could work for him as well. Although, yeah, like, some of the skills don't make sense for him. So if we assume that he's an assassin, you're a bounty hunter, and you're a that would make you a grand strategist, right? If we want to, like, keep things kind of even across. Now, obviously, other people can go into these from other places, but I'm meaning from an operative standpoint, this would give us 3 operatives with 3 unique paths off of operative. I think that works better for me in my head. And also, the thing I was also thinking is grand strategist bonuses sound very useful, and it sounds useful to have it all the time. So if we're in combat, which we should be all the time, it would make sense for us to have it. Does mean our fellowship is kind of... I mean, our fellowship is 40. It's not the worst that we've ever seen. We could, in theory, buff our fellowship up as well. So I was going to say it means that's kind of our downfall here, but that's fine. I was also thinking this could be good for Cassia. Because if we ignore fellowship, then this says it does the highest intelligence and fellowship bonus. So it would be our intelligence and her fellowship, which would be interesting, but yeah. Alright, grand strategist it is. So we immediately get combat tactics, which it doesn't actually tell us what they do. It just says they provide bonuses. What are the bonuses? Don't ask. They're just bonuses. Oh, do we have them in here? No. Okay. Cool. We have leveled to be a grand strategist. Okay. Oh, we can see the bonuses here, right. Okay, so it's a 4x4 cell. Okay. Frontline. All allies in the frontline gain 15% bonus to armor, and all enemies suffer more damage from any source. It can be moved by using this ability. Backline. All allies in the backline gain cover efficiency and dodge, and gain dodge reduction. Okay. And then rear, you gain damage, overpenetration, and critical hit chance. Makes a lot of sense. Also, different shape. That's 5x2. That's 5x2, but this is 4x4. The front line is kind of more of a block at the front. Interesting. Well, given that I've already worked out what my operatives should be, why don't we level them? You're not a grand strategist. You are a bounty hunter. Yeah. So you get hunt down prey as your thing. Also, when you kill a target, you start gaining bonuses. If we ever start using her psychic powers again properly, she's going to kill a lot of targets and get a lot of bonuses. I think. Right. Wait, next? Oh, that's fine. It's just telling us what these are. It doesn't do anything. Okay. Also, it doesn't fit on the screen either. Pascal, you're going to be an assassin. I don't know if this is a smart move, but I think that it makes a lot of sense for us, potentially. If we think that he's going to be able to go into an area, hit someone on one side, he can maybe move to the other. But the other thing I'm thinking is because it says openings of each enemy that were not hit by the assassin. That implies everyone has an... Yeah, so every enemy has an opening. So what we could potentially do is run up to an opening, hit them with a melee attack, and then shoot someone else's opening. And just do, like, huge amounts of damage. Sounds good. Right. Abelard. On to someone completely different. Alright, I haven't even looked at what they do. Vanguard, right? Let's look at Arch-Militant first. Formidable Master of Warfare. So this is warrior or soldier, being able to blend various weapons and styles mid-combat, be it melee, ranged, or anything in between. The Arch-Militant is best at it and becomes stronger and stronger for each second in battle. Okay, cool. So versatility. Whenever the Arch-Militant uses an attack that's a different type from their previous attack, the Arch-Militant gains a stack of versatility. That would actually be kind of interesting for the way that we built Pascal, but let's not worry about that. These type of attacks can be single shot, single melee attack, area shot, or burst shot. The Arch-Militant gains 5 weapon skill and ballistic skill for every stack of versatility. All it has to do is be different from the previous one, which is interesting. If the Arch-Militant has 4 or more stacks of versatility, the Arch-Militant deals an additional weapon skill divided by 2 or ballistic skill divided by 2 damage, whichever is higher. Okay. Steady superiority. Until the end of combat, the Arch-Militant can make 1 additional attack each turn, excluding 1 additional attack on the turn this heroic act was used. The first attack after using this ability and each turn afterwards costs 0 AP. Oh, okay. Cool. Vanguard. An unstoppable force on the front line, beacon for their allies. Even when facing extremely heavy fire, Vanguard only goes stronger in the crucible of battle. Core focus, frontline leader, defensive support, temporary wounds, absorbing attacks, attack redirection. Sound familiar to anyone? Unyielding beacon. Each attack against the Vanguard grants them 1 stack of unyielding beacon. Each stack increases the resolve by +1 up to maximum +15. All allies in a 2-cell radius around the Vanguard gain 1/5 of the bonus. Temporary wounds applied to the Vanguard now stack, but only remain stacked until the start of the Vanguard's next turn. At the start of their turn, the remaining temporary wounds are reduced to the largest amount granted by 1 applied effect. I did not know they didn't stack already. That is useful to know. If the remaining number of temporary wounds is less than the number of stacks of unyielding beacon, it becomes equal to the number of those stacks, even if the Vanguard has no temporary wounds at the start of their turn. Awesome. Until their next turn, the Vanguard attacks each enemy that attacks the Vanguard's allies in a 3-cell radius around the Vanguard. Additionally, until the next turn, the Vanguard always retaliates when attacked. Maybe that's what it means. Maybe we're going to get more of that, for Assassin, where it said it increases your dodge. Maybe it's to avoid things like this, right? Where someone will retaliate when attacked, so you can attack them and still be able to dodge. Maybe that's what it meant. Okay. Cool. I mean, this all sounds good to me. Wait, carouse isn't here? Wait a second. Toughness is a skill, is a characteristic, but carouse is not a skill. Oh, it is. It's the second on the list. It's not alphabetical. Probably persuasion should have given that away, huh? Yeah. Okay, cool. For a second, I was like, it's kind of weirdly alphabetical, but oh, you know what it is? I think it's by... I think these are grouped by a characteristic. Yeah, because it's athletics, carouse. Oh, these are grouped by characteristic. Persuasion is then in fellowship, as is coercion, as is commerce. I mean, they're not alphabetical in there, but you can see how these are actually grouped. Oh, except that Medicaid is not. Alright, I don't know. I'm going to give up trying to figure out why. He's obviously a vanguard. I mean, there's like no question. It's how we've been building him anyway. It's maybe the most obvious archetype we could have chosen. Here, so you've got Arch Militant. Now, Arch Militant is not terrible for Argenta, even though she only has one weapon, because if we read this, you gain a stack of versatility each time you make a different attack that is of a different type to the previous attack. These types of attack are single shot, burst shot. So if we burst, single shot, burst, we have made 3 different... Well, we've made... we should get 2 stacks of versatility because we've made a change, right? So that's interesting. And then it will deal, whichever one is higher, ballistic skill. I think that's pretty good. And then obviously as you keep going, your ballistic skill gets higher and higher and higher and higher. And you're starting to look incredible. Master Tactician. Always in the thick of battle using their leadership and combat prowess, the Master Tacticians are able to harness the momentum of their party to enhance the combat effectiveness of their allies and themselves. So you can empower your next attack to deal 4% additional damage for each tactical advantage of the Master Tactician has. Okay. Tactical advantage. The Master Tactician gains 1 stack of tactical advantage every 5 momentum gained by the Master Tactician or their allies. Momentum is what resolve goes into each turn. The Master Tactician begins combat with amount of tactical advantage stacks equal to their fel bonus. Your fellowship is not good. Last volley. I want to read the heroic act. I don't need to read the other one. Selects a 3x3 zone in the battlefield. All allies, including the Master Tactician, have line of sight to any enemies in the selected zone to make an immediate single attack. And it's a random enemy within this zone that they can target with their weapons. Alright. Cool. I mean, it's Arch Militant, but, you know, cool. Easy. Right. You're interesting. I don't know what we're doing with you in general. Let's go to this. So, he's probably not using Oh, that's us. So, he could use multiple different attacks. He could get versatility via attacking and then shooting with that. He would need the same thing that Pascal has that allows him to do it, but maybe we could do that. Okay, although he can't... well, he could attack twice if he had the same thing Pascal has, but okay. He doesn't currently. That's us. Okay. So we could maybe go through here. Although this is talking about personal buffs. We kind of want him to do other buffs. Assassin changes his character completely. Vanguard is interesting. The thing about Vanguard is we already have a Vanguard, right? So the question would be, are we potentially would we be making a mistake if we put 2 Vanguards in here? Well, this does say defensive support. Let me see, can I go even further into it? I can, okay. I don't want to go too far into it. I'm seeing whether we've got anything that allows us to... yeah, no. I'm seeing if we have anything that allows us to buff the party. Allies affected by any of the Vanguard's abilities gain fel bonus % armor. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't seem good. Yeah, this doesn't seem like this is giving me what I want. I don't think either of these give me what I want. I mean, yeah, Wall of Rockcrete now gives temporary wounds to allies. Yeah. I mean, if his fellowship was good, maybe, but I don't think this is going to work. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work out. So it's Arch Militant or Assassin. Let's have a look at Arch Militant. What kind of stuff do you have here? Okay. So you get bonus when attacking things that allies have attacked. When entering combat, Arch Militant gains bonuses to weapon skill, ballistic skill. Just see if he has anything that allows us to give other stuff. Yeah. Any enemies that were forced to make a resistance test by the Arch Militant will make any resistance test from any source with a penalty. His agi is pretty good. I suppose we could do that. Interesting. There's stuff that we could do here. Like that allows us to apply debuffs. You got a lot of things that have like generic extra damage on them. And these seem like these could be fine. Yeah. I don't know, maybe that's fine. I guess the other thing is we're probably not going to spend as many points in the class for Heinrichs and for Adira. And probably Cassie as well, but for different reasons. Because Cassie's got Navigator stuff. But because these two have psychic abilities, we're probably going to take a lot of psychic talents. So whichever one we choose, we're basically getting like a brief version of whatever the class is. Assuming we want to go into those psychic stuff. What kind of stuff we got as assassin, just to see? Yeah, so you got things like when an ally does something, stuff will happen. Applies debuffs. So a lot of stuff in here. Flawless lunge, reduces target's dodge by amounts. Honestly, I'm reading some of these. These apply a lot of bonuses to allies through attacking. Maybe this gives him something else. He already has like buffs that we can apply. Maybe this gives him a little bit more damage. And I guess Seek the Opening gives him 10%, you know, damage. Like just flat 10%. I think Assassin could be fine for him. Yeah, I don't think any of them were great. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, let's go Assassin. So we have Warrior Assassin, Operative Assassin, Soldier Arch Militant, Operative Bounty Hunter, Warrior Vanguard, and then Operative Grand Strategist. Yeah, okay. That seems fine. Yeah, I don't think that was terrible. Right, let's head out here. Oh, got an achievement for doing that. Is there any loot? There is no loot, in which case I think we're ready to go. I'm actually going to do a save here as well, although it doesn't really matter because I have one before we leveled. But the reason I'm doing a save here is I think this is probably the end of the act. So, let's go.
Keep your wits about you.
Right. Oh, and it gives us these bits of loot if we want them. I forgot that it would do this, but it's also good to check, because I don't think I did check. Cool. We'll take that. It's alright. Wait, close and leave location are the same thing. I just realized there, because I clicked close, but leave location was the thing I wanted to do. But it did it anyway. That's kind of weird. I wonder whether you can do the thing that you can do in Pathfinder. Oh, it's doing a cutscene? Okay. Okay, so what you can do in Pathfinder, just to not leave that a sentence open, is you can, instead of looting the bodies, you can just leave the area, and you can collect all the loot, but then you can just X out of the screen and then go back. Like, you don't actually have to leave, you can just click on the leaving area and grab all the loot. You can also go over your weight limit, although I don't think this game has one. But anyway. Thanks be to the Emperor, you are alive, your lordship. We're most gratified by your return, and the crew is full of zeal to carry out any orders you may have. Well, what's the current situation on board? The navigator's sanctum is no longer empty, but the warp engine is still refusing to obey the engine seers. Without it, we cannot perform a warp jump. Pascal's voice buzzes anxiously from his vox. It may be angry, or perhaps it is lamenting the injuries it has suffered. I will immediately initiate preparations for a prayer service. If the Omnissiah grants me comprehension, I will appease the machine spirit of this vessel. Why did you not send a shuttle to the planet for me? I do apologize, your lordship, but we were unable to receive your request for evacuation. The Vox link was overrun with vile interference, screams, blasphemous hymns, other equally sinister noises. Any who listened to the interference for a protracted period lost their sanity. Several dozen operators went mad at monitoring the Voxcaster in hopes of hearing your voice. Each one of them waited in vain. What's happening on the planet now? Our augur operators are reporting numerous uprisings and other manifestations of the arch-enemy's powers at various locations on the planet. Based on the fragments of communications picked up by our Vox operators, there's practically no resistance being offered by the governor's forces. Millions of people are converting to the blasphemous Final Dawn cult en masse and assembling in prayer circles. Do we have any hope of retaking the planet? I fear that Rykad Minoris is lost. The situation is deteriorating by the minute. We must leave this system as soon as possible. However, there are still people on the planet who have not succumbed to heresy and who are worthy of rescue. Besides the small number of our own shuttles, we have shuttles salvaged from the starport. The dark eyes of the Sister of Battle flash. We must save as many as we can. This has all happened for a reason. Saint Argenta, whose name I carry with reverence and trepidation, is famed for saving the people of a dying world through the power of prayer. The God Emperor himself sent a star from the heavens that lifted the saint and her followers up to the sky, away from corruption and death. We must do as she did, direct all our efforts to saving those people who at this moment look to the heavens in hope of salvation. The lives of peasants are of little value. Our prime objective is to save the Holy Relic, the miraculous fusion reactor, and the electro priests who guard and tend to it. Abelard furrows his brow. Every moment we spend in proximity to a dying world, we're putting ourselves at risk. Your life, Lord Captain, is far more valuable than all of Rykad Minoris. The von Valancius dynasty cannot be allowed to perish. And so, lamentable as it is, though it is, must rule out the idea of any evacuation. Heinrich's eyes, like two deep dark pools, are resolutely fixed on you. The world is doomed, and its inhabitants along with it. The disappearance of the star was the final nudge towards death, the finale of the cult of the Final Dawn's plans. I once witnessed a similar event, a world that had surrendered to the servants of the arch-enemy and permitted corruption to enter too deep. At this moment, millions of people are bowing down before those who promised them salvation, and they are willingly giving their souls to chaos, a sacrifice great enough to bring forth the demon world. Our only hope of stopping the process is to retreat to a safe distance from the planet and conduct targeted bombing of the Electro-Priest Monastery. If we blow up the reactor, a thermonuclear reaction will follow. The world's oxygen will evaporate, killing off the entire biosphere. In doing this, we'll save millions from souls from a fate far worse than death, and we'll save Rykad Minoris from becoming an outpost of the arch-enemy. Whatever fate you choose for this world, I urge you to make haste, Lord Captain. The planet is burning in raging flashes of crimson and purple. I can see it even from orbit, as do I see that the storm is already upon us. With every moment that we waste, it grows ever more difficult and perilous to steer the ship through the warp's turbulent currents. I'm with the lady on this. Enough talking. We need to get out of here while we still can. Something lurking in the depths of your consciousness bristles at the passing thought of saving people. The spike of horror you feel takes your breath away, as it is as if you were planning to steal the prey of a mighty predator. The planet is already wrapped in a thread stretching out from the warp. It deserves to have a new master. Okay, so I didn't ask about the sun in the previous section, which is annoying. Can I reload? I'm going to try the button. No, okay. In which case we will just accept that I do not know what's happening with the sun, although I can kind of guess from the threads of chaos going towards the sun. Okay. Why can we not try to evacuate at least some of the people? For the simple reason that the transformation process will soon become irreversible, and our sole weapon against it useless. The energy released by the bombardment could stoke the warp energies. I've never witnessed the aftermath of bombing a demon world before, but there is enough evidence of such attempts for me to say with confidence that you do not want to see it. Which of the planet's inhabitants can we evacuate? The nobles you rescued at the starport have given the coordinates of shelters where we can find surviving aristocrats and their families. As for Sergeant Malgar's troops, they will help to control the crowds of frightened commoners and prevent the shuttles from being overloaded. Thanks to you, we have salvaged many shuttles from the starport we can now use. Interesting. Interesting. So, I'm not choosing one. I'm just going to do this in the way that I sometimes do these for tough choices. Just eliminate choices that you're not going to do. So 1, I'm not going to do. 5, I'm not going to do. 5 is ignoring the problem. 1 is saying we're going to save the nobles, which does not seem like that's a worthwhile thing to do based upon what we've seen of the nobles so far. So we're not doing 1 or 5. I don't think I'm doing 3. I think saving the miraculous fusion reactor is not a high priority for me. It probably is for Pascal, but you know, that's not really my problem. So that means it's between 2 and 4. So we can either extract all the commoners who have not yet converted to the Cult of the Final Dawn, or blow it up. Okay. Here's my thought. Heinrichs has told us what's going to happen, right? If we do not blow up the planet. If we do not blow up the planet, this becomes a demon world, and it just spawns more and more chaos, and it's going to be truly horrible in the future. So blowing it up seems like a very sensible option. Now, would we want to evacuate the people? Yes. Is the game going to give us the option to evacuate and blow it up? No. We've been told we cannot blow it up after we evacuate because it'll be too late. Warp energies will be too much, and it's just not going to happen. Which means I think our option is 4. Set an optimal course and carry out an orbital strike on the Electro Priest Monastery. Rykad Minoris must fall. It's not the choice that gets us anything that we want, but I think having a demon world exist is probably not good for us in general. That's just a very bad thing. And I think that given that we've got a time limit on doing that one, we're going to do that one. Yes, Lord Captain. I will immediately inform the navigation and artillery decks of the impending maneuver. Heinrichs inclines his head. The right choice, Lord Captain. May the sacred Exterminatus cleanse this veil of corruption. Pascal is going to be very unhappy. The bridge is in upheaval. The Technomat's prayers mix together in senseless cacophony, while servitors work hastily to remove a hardened crust of sacred unguents from the warp engine's components. In the middle of all this tumult stands Pascal with a data slate clutched in his hands, seemingly disconnected from the flurry of activity around him. Okay. Let's see. What's going on here? The warp sextant is not responding to commands. The ship's spirit is rejecting our prayers in anger. I am currently calculating a plea that might appease the noble spirit. Okay. I do not assume control of the Technomat. Surely their contribution would speed things up. Your ship and your temple start acting like you blasted cog. Do you not bring this situation under control, we will all perish. Or Pascal, I kindly request you take charge of this mess. Pascal, okay, crew, heed the words of Magos Hanuman. Pascal, I kindly request you take charge of this mess. Thank you, your lordship. You are right. Pascal's voice changes when he addresses the crew. He now speaks with authority and resolve. Tech comrades, heed my instruction. The mayhem immediately subsides and the crew's actions fall into some indiscernible logic. The Omnissiah's servants start working in sync and the Binharic clamour becomes a symphony of reports, which the Magos coordinates like a skillful conductor. Okay. Admirably done, Pascal. The Omnissiah guides me. The prayers of the tech priests surrounding the cogitator almost drown out the sounds of the bustling bridge behind you. Pascal, poring intently over the data slate in his hands, extends a mechadendrite towards you. Please take your place at the cogitator, Lord Captain. Okay. The huge machine in front of you is lit with dozens of vid screens and hundreds of lumens. The blinking lights and endless rush of symbols and digits on the green background make your eyes water, and a vague sense of alarm simmers in the depths of your mind, the typical reaction of a layperson when confronted with the magnitude of the Omnissiah's creation. Among the numerous controls you see the mouth of a cyber gargoyle, the same as at the gate to the warrant chamber. We need to put our hand in the mouth. Pascal's voice becomes imbued with imperious force. Servants of the machine god, heed my command. Acolytes, prepare the incense instrumentation for the liturgy of machine spirit propitiation. Senior technomats, recite the prayer to generate a current data report. Operations will be marked with the campanological protocol Omnissiah Rejoice. I must inform you that for the purposes of safety, complete reassembly of the warp sextant and updating of its datasmith blessings are required. This is not done, then at launch the volume of aggregate calculation errors could result in the destruction of the data crypts. But as we do not have 100 hours at our disposal, we must omit this procedure. Pascal looks down at the data slate in his hands. A minor deviation from the rite of operation for the sake of appeasing the spirit. Deviating from the rite of operation, that sounds dubious. It does. I'm just going to say, what must I do? He's the expert. Place your hand inside the throat of the cogitator guardian, the cyber gargoyle, which has been assigned to guard the forbidden data crypts. The dynastic blood extracted from your veins will serve as a key to the data core where the machine spirit dwells. To it we will offer our prayers so we may bypass the protective protocol for defective connections and launch the warp sextant. Pascal's voice grows quieter. The laws of the Omnissiah know no exceptions, so in this ritual I remain back at your side to placate the wrathful machine spirit, in whose abode you will be intruding. Follow my liturgies, Lord Captain, and we may receive his blessing. Let's do it. The metal jaws clamp down on your hand, breaking your delicate corporeal sheath and releasing warm red liquid into its gullet. At the same moment, the image on the vid screen before you changes. Connecting 000.1, 0000.2, 0000.3. Success registered 789.0344. Access initiated ID 8627. nom_OS operate RISP act. Okay, what does it all mean? The sound of your voice, the cogitator's servant, whose bronze-bound skeleton is built into the cogitator's housing, shudders. With a screech, its skull rotates towards you and then stops in that position. Benevolent code, a voice receptor. Pascal emits a series of binharic signals and then is silent for several seconds. I hypothesize that the defect is located in the analyzer block. I register a reaction to the signal but no processed response. A temporary override is permissible. The Magos intently studies the vid screen. The shell was created on a forge world unknown to me. Initiating standard invocation of the machine spirit. Pascal leans over the adjacent instrument panel and sets his hands from the controls. At the same time, a quiet stream of machine code begins pouring forth from his vox. By my authority, I revoke the inviolability protocol of the warp engine? No. What should I do now? Lord Captain, I ask now that you address the machine spirit. Speak the following command. By my authority, I revoke the inviolability protocol of the warp engine. The voice receptor will receive the vocal entry. With your sanction, the machine spirit will not, or without your sanction, the machine spirit will not accept the data from the warp sextant. By my authority, I revoke the inviolability protocol of the warp engine. One of the cogitator's vid screens turns red. Pascal sees this and raises his hand, signaling to the rest of the tech priests, and withdraws a connector from his sleeve and connects it to the machine. Servants of the Omnissiah, make now the offering of the cleansed data crypts to the machine spirit so that it may be filled with their true and calibrated data. May the Omnissiah have mercy on our souls. In meek solemnity, the acolytes offer up the cleansed data crypts to the warp engine one after another, repeating prayers of exaltation. After anointing the contacts with sacred unguents, Pascal inserts them in the cogitator's slots. Your head begins to spin from the holy sensors, foul-smelling clouds of smoke, and from the loss of the blood that the cyber gargoyle continues to drink from you. And the world swims before your eyes. Let this mechanism awake in renewed purity. Pascal enters a sequence of commands and raises his head, watching the vid screen. Suddenly he stops dead. No. His fingers fly over the command runes, entering command after command. His mechadendrites, clicking their pincers, pull at one lever after another. The vid screens fill with a string of symbols, completely incomprehensible to you, but clearly conveying something to the Magos. Is everything alright, Magos? After a few seconds, one of the data crypts mounted on the cogitator begins to emit sparks. A moment later, another data crypt does the same. The next bursts into flame and gives off foul-smelling smoke. Around you, the Omnissiah servants break off from their prayers, and someone bursts into frantic pleading. Pascal mournfully grates out. The massive errors in the warp sextant's calculations is destroying the data repositories. The offering did not appease the ship's spirit. The warp engine cannot be filled with the motive force. We are trapped. A moment later, the Magos continues uncertainly. Perhaps an alternative Ryzen protocol, or an emergency launch of the auxiliary coils? The tech priest bends over the cogitator, but something in his pose and movements reveals his desperation. While the other vid screens are filled with more and more strings of symbols, the monitor in front of you blinks and a static image changes. Pascal is too engrossed in his ritual to notice. I'll read it. Input pack.comp nom_os stab true nom_os stab false stat.check init perturb reg disturb or preturb reg disturb reg nom_os operat.resp query. Query what query? The cogitator servant creaks quietly in its joints, sound that is drowned out by the binharic hymns and tapping of command runes. Prompt. Oh, nom_os ping, nom_os rec resp, nom_os operate.resp injury, nom_os operate.resp rescue, nom_os operate.resp query. Let's see. Rescue? Yes, machine spirit, rescue us. Pascal turns to you. Lord Captain, the excess emotion in your command will render it unintelligible to... Pascal's next vocalization goes unsynthesized as he sees the vid screen begin to stabilize one after another. The strings frenetically galloping across the green background are replaced with stable images or regularly updating status reports. Only one monitor remains inexplicably red. The tech priest Vox crackles in shock, but his report is as clipped and as clinical as ever. Registering. Warp sextant activated. Registering. Data stream stabilizing. Registering. 0 data errors found. Reporting. The warp engine is ready for translation. After a pause, Pascal adds, I'm also reporting evidence indicating a Category 3 miracle fulfilling the criterion. Thou shalt witness the mechanism that toils in glorification of its function, and in defiance of deactivation. Lord Captain, Ravora here. The crew are almost finished carrying out the order given earlier. I've just received confirmation from the engineering halls. I don't know what you did, but the warp engine's up and rearing to go. Ready to begin the translation to warp, your lordship. What just happened? Pascal pauses. I hypothesize that the ship's spirit heard our prayers and intervened. It summoned the power of the Omnissiah to do something beyond my comprehension. I know little of the Omnissiah's sacred machines, but what I saw on the screen looked strange. A non-standard output of information lost in a data core. The servitators used as data conduits are not always fully lobotomized. Fragments of their thoughts can appear even in pure code. Pascal falls silent, immersed in thought. I'm not going to say 1 or 2. I'm not going to say that it was the Omnissiah, and I'm not going to say that he should do better. All I'm going to say is, the Lord Captain is speaking. I give the order to commence translation to the warp. Waiting for you to ascend to the Captain's throne, Lord Captain. May the Emperor protect us. Okay. Well, there goes Rykad Minoris. Pascal didn't seem as annoyed as I thought he would be about the, reactor being blown up, but maybe he doesn't know yet. I do love that our plan is blow up the planet and leave the entire system. Like, don't wait to see what happens. Just, do it and leave. I mean, probably sensible.
The Von Valancia's flagship made its way out of the doomed star system. As the voidships plunged deeper into the Koronus Expanse, the rogue trader's subjects bid a formal farewell to the late head of the dynasty, Theodora von Valancius. Having paid their last respects, the crew gathered their strength and braced themselves for whatever was to come next.
Okay. Completed chapter 1. Alright. That's interesting. It looks like there's space for another person. It's Cassia. Okay, I was trying to work out which companion was missing, but that makes sense. She's probably navigating. Lord Captain, allow me to report. Our journey through the warp is coming to an end. Lady Navigator Urselio informs me we have reached the point where we can translate to real space in the Furibundus system. Lady Navigator and our pilots are awaiting your permission to begin the process. The Furibundus system is home to Footfall, the only Imperium outpost with a functioning wharf in the Koronus Expanse. The tech priests are begging you to have mercy on the machines worn down by the warp and allow the servants of the Omnissiah to inspect and heal the voidship's wounds in the dock. The prayers and rituals will take some time, which our astropathic choir will use to establish a connection with the prime worlds of your protectorate, Dargonis, Janus, and Kiava Gamma. Master Zachary Weiss has recovered an invitation previously adrift in the Imperium. The Liege of Footfall has humbly requested an audience with the rogue trader of the Von Valancius dynasty. According to Master Zachary, the message was tinted with shades of pleading. I quote, "Apparently the Liege is anxious to meet as soon as possible." Footfall, the place where filth and sanctity go hand in hand. Reverend Hieronymus Doloroso will most likely expect a visit from me. I imagine he'll be interested in talking to you as well, Malachi. I will be leaving your voidship when we arrive on Footfall, Malachi. Once that is done, consider the Lord Inquisitor's task complete. Your Lordship, young Yvain Winterscale has asked me to convey his gratitude for your hospitality in saving him from certain death. Not wishing to outstay his welcome, he plans to disembark at Footfall. Lord Yvain swears he will not forget his debt to you. I hereby inform the rogue trader that during a comprehensive system inspection right, this unit discovered data clusters within the captain's cogitator that are concealed from prying eyes by means of a personal cipher and a sacrament of algorithmic authorization. Unit Malachi von Valancius has been added to the access list and assigned identifier Keeper 2. The unit can access the data from the captain's cogitator, provided he possesses the decryption key. You detect a hint of something resembling curiosity in Pascal's mechanical voice. Oh, this is a lot. Okay, are you leaving us, Heinrichs? The arrangement between the Lord Inquisitor and your predecessor was that I be transported to Footfall and no farther. I dare not take advantage of your generosity and patience any more than I already have, Malachi. You're a skilled fighter. I could use people like you. What do you say we extend your stay in my retinue? Thank you for your offer, but I must decline. I'm afraid my duty to the Golden Throne comes before everything else. Argenta, who is this Reverend Hieronymus who wants to speak with me? He is the head of the Drusian mission on Footfall, and one of the most prominent clergymen in the sector. Paying him a visit is a good thing for any loyal servant of the Emperor to do. I assisted his mission before I joined Lady Theodora on her voyage. I need his blessing to accompany the new rogue trader of the von Valancius dynasty. If you wish to have me aboard your voidship, I request that we meet with Reverend Hieronymus. Okay. Big Dis, tell me about the system we're arriving in. Verabundus is valuable due to its close proximity to the Maw, the gateway to the Imperium. The system is mostly known for Footfall, the main base for merchants, privateers, and rogue traders traversing the Koronus Expanse. Additionally, the star itself is orbited by an Adeptus Mechanicus station which is off-limits to outsiders. Altar Templum Calixtus Extension 17. I had the honour of tending this shrine for a few thousand cycles. I suggest you abstain from visiting it, as most tech comrades at the station are engaged in meditative calculations that should not be interrupted. What do I need to know about Footfall? It is the largest port and trading capital of the Koronus Expanse. It is a dockyard that will allow us to inspect and repair the voidship, and it boasts its own astropathic choir, the Koronus Expanse Communications Nexus. Not to mention pirate hideouts, smuggler caches, and forts belonging to a dozen gangs, groups, and factions. In the Koronus Expanse, the Imperium relies on this as its outpost. The fringes of humanity's domain rarely resemble its central worlds, but so long as Footfall serves the God Emperor, insofar as it can, it will be considered a citadel of the Imperium, although I have heard that the tides it sends are underwhelming, to say the least. Due to Footfall's remoteness, it has developed its own rules and customs. Many of the goods that can be procured there would be considered heresy in the heart of the Imperium, enough to warrant summary execution. Moreover, Footfall is the domain of the rogue traders who transcend certain Imperial laws by virtue of the warrant they bear. Footfall's just a brief stop. What next? As soon as we solve the issues plaguing the ship and establish contact with the key worlds of your protectorate, the time will come for your Magna Accessio, the official ceremony of donning the mantle of the rogue trader. It's mostly a formality at this point. You already possess all the privileges granted by the warrant, and yet it is a major milestone for your personal history, the moment your name graces the list of heads of the von Valancius dynasty. We are all looking forward to that day, Lord Captain. That's probably the end of this chapter, is getting that done. Okay, Abelard, do you know anything about the Liege of Footfall? Vladim Tokara is a very peculiar young man. Consider your upcoming conversation a baptism of fire in Footfall's political arena. Such things are not spoken out loud, but Liege Tokara is the appointee of the Kaspalika mission, the largest robber baron crime syndicate in the Calixus sector. They specialize in the coal trade, the buying and selling of all kinds of Xenos rubbish. Footfall was previously run by a liege who did business with several criminal factions at once, but he suffered an accident. The reins of power were picked up by Vladimir Tokara, whose appointment benefits not only the Kaspalika but also their most powerful ally in the Koronus Expanse, rogue trader Kaligos Winterscale. Vladimir is a slippery yet very cautious fellow. He does not usually beat around the bush, and does not play mind games. Perhaps more importantly, he is no fool. Fools do not rise this high in the Kaspalikian hierarchy. Keep all of this in mind. You're a rogue trader, you stand above him in status and wield considerable power. Having said that, history has seen cases where Kaspalikian barons crossed swords with rogue traders and emerged victorious. Do not forget that and remain vigilant. The Kaspalika, vile tech thieves. Pascal's Vox barks at the last word like a profanity. Why does the liege want to see me so badly? Not you personally. He wishes to meet with the rogue trader of the von Valancius dynasty. Tokara does not know about Lady Theodora's death and is simply seeking an audience with the powers that be. My gut is telling me that something must be very wrong on Footfall if our astropath managed to read such a strong emotion in such an anodyne message. We have no information, Lord Captain. The broadcast from Footfall's astropathic choir was the only missive Master Zachary received lately. Till the Lady Navigator gave her leave to make the translation from warp into real space. Victus begins issuing instructions. The massive ship appears to change with her every word. The bridge is set in motion as hundreds of people start to prepare for the shift to real space, and measured chanting fills the corridors to safeguard the vessel and its crew. Victus returns to you once again. One more thing, Lord Captain. No one at the station knows about Lady Theodora's demise and you inheriting the title. Liege Tokara will be informed. It is required so he can use the dock, and besides, he is expecting a personal audience with the rogue trader. He will not meet with an unknown person of unclear standing. However, there is still the matter of announcing your arrival. You can either arrive on the station with the proper pomp and ceremony, or choose to visit it incognito. Tell me how the choices will benefit me. According to Footfall's unwritten laws, rogue traders enjoy special privileges that exceed even the power of the liege. However, they may not exercise these privileges in certain situations. Arriving incognito will give you more room for maneuver, while official visit will allow you to directly intervene in local matters, or local affairs. I shall explain if you do not mind. As per this unwritten rule, every rogue trader arriving at the station has the right to veto any of the liege's decisions, but there is a catch. The Koronus Expanse is home to several influential rogue trader dynasties, and Footfall is where their interests intersect. Of course, that does not prevent certain persons, namely Kaligos Winterscale, from subtly pulling the strings in Footfall. If you as a new rogue trader start your career with an official landing and parade in your honour, the other dynasties may see this gesture as the newcomer challenging their spheres of influence. I do not see that as a bad thing necessarily. Old Man Winterscale may take slight offence. Chorda will be put on her guard. But you have just risen to prominence, and most people in the Koronus Expanse have not even heard about Lady Theodora's departure yet. It must be made clear that the banner of von Valancius soars as high as ever. If I may, I would recommend arriving incognito. You will have plenty of opportunities to savor the sweetness and burden of power, but right now is the last time you can take refuge in obscurity. This way your arrival will not draw much attention. The people will treat you as a person, and not the almighty sovereign anointed by the Emperor. It could turn some situations to your advantage. You know what, I think we'll be incognito. We'll take his advice. It will be done, Lord Captain. Victus bows again. With your grace's permission, I will return to my duties. And with that, we're in Chapter 2, and I'm going to end the episode there. Thank you very much for watching. As with everything, we're going to spend next episode talking to all of our companions, probably, unless none of them have anything to say, and then we're going to the planet. So, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.